Marley from the Energy Boutique with your energy forecast for Monday, November 15th. So we are going to have the moon in Aries all day on Monday, which is ruled over by the moon. So what does this mean? It means that we're in for a very emotionally transformative day. We have 15 different aspects taking place here today, which means that the cosmos is super busy. We have a lot of things to sort out. We're finally making some progress in our inner realms and in our physical realms. We are trying to wrap a couple of things up in Scorpio season. We are kind of moving into the full moon eclipse window energy that will be taking place later on this week. So we do have some pivotal shifts to make before we actually hit that eclipse cycle. 15 aspects is a big deal. We normally don't have 15. We normally average around 9, 10, maybe. On some of the quieter days, we're looking at 5 to 7. Anything I would say over 11 different aspects speaks volumes on the kind of energy that we're moving through. And as you know, we have been in an accelerated portal of manifestation, and we are definitely going to feel the shift, the time blending, the acceleration, the fast forward button here today. We start the day off with Mercury making a very positive aspect with Chiron. This is an aha moment, recognizing where it is that we have been mentally pushing ourselves to get rid of the negative narratives, to open our minds up to new possibilities of the future, where we've been communicating a little bit more effectively, really kind of letting people know where it is that we're at, what it is we're thinking, what it is we're feeling. And because Chiron's in the mix, the wounded healer, we're definitely seeing a lot of advancement in being able to control our emotions, control our mental narratives, and control the way that we actually open our mouth and express ourselves. Now, the moon is going to go ahead and sextile Saturn, and this is a good vibe, but again, Saturn, the Lord of Karma, who is in Aquarius, trying for us to focus in on the long-term systems and structures that we need to start building and implementing now. This particular energy is emotionally getting us on the page where we need to be a little bit more productive. That Saturn energy, of course, wants to be productive, wants to start putting the pieces together. That moon in Aries is fired up, ready to go. Let's push ourselves forward. Let's not look back. Let's just keep the blinders on and move forward and actually take action and do something with this emotional energy that we now have to cut the cord with the past and only focus on the future. The moon goes ahead and makes an aspect with the sun, and anytime the moon and the sun come into play, there's really an overlap of the old versus the new, our emotions versus our life force. There is this aspect where we are recognizing that in order to actually be in a situation to receive the rewards and blessings that we've been praying for, that we have to abandon our egoic selves, the old trauma, the old pain that we have been definitely looking dead in the eye, dead in the face through Scorpio season. Like I mentioned in the ascension forecast for this week, definitely check that out if you haven't already. We're now in the regeneration phase, the renewal phase, and having the moon and having the sun interact in this way is illuminating where emotionally and mentally we have to let things go from the past, put that emotional baggage down in order for the sun, of course, in Scorpio, highlighting where transformation is needed, where we need to start pouring our energy into. Not in the past, not in the shoulda, coulda, wouldas, in the present moment, into the futuristic goals and visions that we're now having, and breaking it down into manageable pieces of what it is that we can tackle in the here and now to set us up for that bigger, greater, grander plan. Venus in Capricorn goes ahead and squares, which is a tension point, with Chiron, the wounded healer. So here's the thing, Venus in Capricorn, she is all about trying to reevaluate her own worth, her own value, what makes her happy, what brings her joy. She is entering into this, let's call it boxing ring, because that's what a square is. It's a tension, it's a conflict, it's, a planet going head to head with another planet to figure things out. And this particular particular aspect between Venus and Chiron are really going to illuminate for us where it is maybe that we're not so happy, where we're not so joyful, where we're not honoring ourselves, where we're not loving ourselves, where we don't feel loved by other people. We're having some self-worth issues come up. And of course, the self-worth issues are the key determining factor for all of the other relationships that we have in our lives. Of course, once you come to the understanding that every relationship that you have is merely a mirror to the way in which you feel about yourself, there's some serious aha moments there to be made. The moon is going to semi-square Jupiter. Now, let me tell you, after this little run-in between Venus and Chiron, we're probably going to feel pretty low, pretty down on ourselves. A little bit of the negative Nancy kicking in, definitely Betty the bully, really kind of squeezing the pressures on what it is that we're not happy with, what it is that we're feeling really raw and vulnerable about. Well, the moon semi-squaring Jupiter, Jupiter, of course, wanting us to grow, wanting us to expand, does kind of highlight how imperfect the mood, the energy, the vibe is right now, because we're focused on what it is we actually want futuristically. Again, we talk about the scarcity mindset. It's great to figure out what it is that you want, but there is that realization there that what it is that you want leaves you in a state of this current present moment of what it is that you don't have. So when we become kind of blinded to the fact that, yes, dreams and goals and visions for the future are good, but not if it means that we underestimate the value, the beauty, the pleasure, the joy in our present moment, we can become very stuck in a negative mindset and negative narrative. And because Jupiter does have the tendency to magnify whatever it is that we're currently feeling, and because the moon is in Aries, this likely will bring out the darker parts of this Arian energy, which is full out tantrums, anger, just outbursts, just impatience, restlessness, aggression, just frustration overall, likely that things aren't moving as fast as we would like. Things are going to get even more intense because the moon in Aries comes up to, sits next to, conjuncts Chiron, who is also in Aries, retrograde, of course. He's been trying to open up our egoic wounds over these past couple of months and really show us where it is that we have to unleash our inner spiritual warrior in order to boss up and actually make a change so that we can detach from our pain and trauma story and actually start living a good thriver life instead of a survivor life. The moon squares Venus, and this is definitely going to put a huge emphasis on the wounds that are now being exposed to us, and this likely will be an outside trigger from a personal relationship. This will show us where it is that guess what? We're in a situation that we don't deserve to be in, that isn't making us happy, that is showing us how unstable this particular situation is, isn't up to what it is that we think we deserve, and this is going to be highlighted. Why? Because you have to acknowledge where it is that you're not happy and where it is that you're living below your worth and your value in order for you to make a choice. Do I want to settle and stop playing the victim and just accept things as they are, knowing that they will never be to where it is that I deserve them to be? Or you can recognize that you deserve more and make the decision to ask for that and let the people in your life show you whether or not they're capable enough of giving you that. Regardless, it never feels good to have your emotions exposed, especially in a situation that is showing you where it is that you're not happy. The moon then makes a harmonious aspect with Mercury and makes a not so nice aspect with Mars. This is where I'm going to say that the day could take a turn for the angry side, for the dark side. Now, sometimes we do need anger and frustration to fuel the fires of inspiration and motivation for us to make a change, but sometimes they can just be damn near self-sabotaging. And I really fear for many of us, because our wounds are being wide open, because they're being exposed, because they're being illuminated, our mental narrative is not good once we start settling into our wounds and recognizing where it is that we're, not being treated fairly or not happy enough or in an unstable situation. Our mental narratives get a little bit poisoned. And even more than that, this Mars energy brings this frustration, brings this anger, brings this impulsivity. Because the moon is in Aries, again, we can go from 0 to 60 in less than 60 seconds, have a full down and out adult tantrum, and then, just carry on with life. I feel like there is the possibility of this happening early on in the day, and it's going to take us all day to try and get out of this funk. Again, with 15 different aspects taking place today, the cosmos is very busy. Now, here's the thing. We fall into this negative narrative. We fall into this funk. We fall into the poor me, the victim mentality. Then the moon goes ahead and makes a very tension-filled point with Uranus. And at this particular point, Uranus is creating more confusion for us. He's not providing us with insight and clarity. He's not shifting our perspectives in the right kind of way. He's amplifying all of the negative narratives that we're choosing to have loop in our head. This is likely going to create chaos and destruction in our mental plane. Why? So that we can break down. Why? So that we can have a breakthrough. The sun in Scorpio is going to go ahead and square Jupiter. Jupiter, of course, is in Aquarius. The sun in Scorpio is trying to wrap up the life lessons. This is the last week of Scorpio season. This is all about transformation. Of course, we had a certain death. Now we're in the renewal, the regeneration phase. Now we are attempting to transform before Scorpio season is over. But this conflict, this crisis point between the sun and Jupiter, you best believe that there is an overwhelming amount of emotions, an overwhelming mental confusion taking place here where we're not able to see the forest past the tree. Okay. This can be a little bit damaging to our funk, to our vibe, and things don't absolutely get that much better because the moon goes ahead and makes a very tension-filled point with Mercury. Now, let me tell you, we can have verbal vomit. We can have verbal diarrhea. There's a lot of projection. There's a lot of anger and frustration that it just needs to come out. There's a lot of rage. There's a lot of anxiety. There's a lot of restlessness. The moon is our emotions. Mercury is our thoughts and the way we communicate. And there is a little bit of discord right now between our heart and our head because we kind of fell victim to those darker narratives that we've been trying so hard not to allow loop in our head. But here's the thing, the moon is going to go ahead and semi-square the true node, and this is going to be us really trying to talk ourselves off of this mental cliff in which we just found ourselves on. This true node wants to remind us of the vision, of the dream, of the goal, why it is that we are going through, what it is that we're going through, trying to transform, trying to let the past be in the past so that we can stand in the beautiful light of the future. So the moon bumping into the true node right now is kind of like amplifying our emotions, amplifying where it is we feel a little bit out of control, where it is that we're a little bit Debbie Downer on what is possible for us in the future. And then the sun goes ahead and bumps into Chiron. Now, let me tell you, this is going to illuminate all the shadow parts, all the not so nice parts. Why? Because we're in Scorpio season. What does that have to do with anything? Well, it's ruled over by Pluto, and Pluto's main goal here is to show us our past pain, our trauma, our insecurities, our doubts, our uncertainties, and give us an option. Are we going to stay in the present moment paralyzed by all these shoulda, coulda, wouldas, all these ifs, ands, and buts, or are we going to turn this pain into a source of power? There's a huge potential here to override the narrative in which we've kind of settled in. There's a huge potential just to flip a switch and actually just terminate all these negative Nancy narratives and actually turn them into something positive. But the last thing that takes place today, which is a beautiful thing, would suggest that we do dig ourselves out of this dark, dark hole for just a second, because the moon goes ahead and bumps into the sun, this time in a very harmonious way. So earlier we had the moon bump into the sun in a tension-filled way, and this kind of triggered all of our not so nice thoughts and feelings and really flustered us and really brought out our ugly and aggressive side. And this particular aspect, because it is a harmonious one, shows us where it is that, yep, we really needed to go through that today, because we definitely know where it is that we're still being stubborn, where we're still being stuck on letting certain emotions and thoughts go. We are definitely being illuminated to where it is that, you know what, we had to boil over, we had to break down, because again, you got to break down before you have a breakthrough. And the moon in Aries, the sun in Scorpio, what do they have in common? They have in common Mars. Mars, of course, is the god of war. He rules over our physical energy, our drive, our passion, our desires, and our aggression and our anger when we don't have an emotional grip. And so what we have in common here is recognizing that we got to boss up. We got to unleash our inner warrior. We have to recognize where it is that we've allowed the narratives and the emotions of the past to totally, technically ruin our day, and where it is that we're not willing to wake up and do the same thing tomorrow. So there is a huge illumination on where it is that we slipped, where it is that we got, kind of sucked down into the depths of darkness, where it is that we felt pretty good for setting up camp there for a short time during the day. And then we shook our head and we got impatient and said, why? Why are we choosing to stay here? There's a light at the very top of this very dark, dark hole. And let's try to climb our sorry asses out of it. So again, very chaotic day, a lot of negative vibes, a lot of negative energies really triggering us, because again, we have to have a breakdown before we can have a breakthrough.